Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Crisis Alert training webinar. I'm just going to give some quick introductions about our roles and who we have with us today. So my name is Lacey. I'm going to be giving us that quick introduction on topics we're going to be covering. Then I'm going to pass the stage along to Sarah. She's actually going to be the one running through the presentation for us today. As Sarah is going through the presentation, we have Abby along with us. Abby and I will be looking in our Q&A chat for any questions that are popping up during that presentation. So just as a reminder of who this webinar is for, so this is for those who use the admin panel, so individuals such as our administrators, responders, badge managers, and SROs. This is not a training intended for general staff. And just a quick overview of the topics we're going to be covering today. We're going to first start with the function and capabilities of the mobile and desktop applications, followed by accessing the web portal. The next topic will then be training your staff. And then at the end, we'll conclude with that live Q&A portion. So as I already mentioned, Abby and I will be looking for questions in that Q&A. You can find that if you are unfamiliar with Zoom, it'll be in the bottom toolbar. If there are any questions that we hadn't gotten to during Sarah's part of the presentation, we'll be addressing those during the live Q&A, or there could have been a question that came up that maybe required a little bit extra detail. Those ones we would also save for that live Q&A portion. So Sarah, whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Lacey. Welcome, everyone. We are glad that you are here today. We know that our audience is made up of people who have been using Crisis Alert for quite some time and are wanting a refresher, as well as those of you who are new to Crisis Alert or perhaps new to the responder role within Crisis Alert. We will be starting by covering the functions of the mobile and computer app, and that has to deal with receiving, closing, and activating alerts. This is what the home screen looks like for the mobile app. If there are no active alerts, this is what you will see. When an alert comes in, it is a push notification. You get that critical alert notification, and it will also do an Amber Alert sound as well. If you have an iPhone, even if your sounds are off, you will still get that notification. If you have an Android and you have turned sounds off, you will not get the sound of the notification coming in, but you will still get the notification. Once you get that first push notification, then you want to tap on that and it will bring you then to the middle screen here. It shows the staff alert, and next to that on the right, it says 26 seconds ago. Well, that is an active clock, kind of like a stopwatch, and it's timing from the time the alert was triggered to when it is closed. So it keeps a record of that. If you tap on that alert, it will bring you to the third screen, which will be a map of your school. Here you can see it's been zoomed in quite a bit. You can zoom in or out using 2 fingers, and it will have that flashing red dot giving you an approximate location of where someone is located. Once you have responded to that alert, then it is important to close that alert. And to do it, you tap the close button at the bottom there, and it brings you a menu of choices. This is really important that you are able to select the correct reason for why that alert was triggered. This really generates information that you can use for your school and for guiding decisions with it. It's also really important to remember never to close an alert until it has been responded to. If you close it for you, you close it for every responder. And so there have been times when responders have closed an alert that they were not responding to, and nobody came to help because everybody thought it had been taken care of. As I said, you can view that alert history. This is a new update for our mobile app this year. Bottom right, alert history, and you can look at the day, week, or month. This is really handy if you are in at your school and you've seen alerts come in, or somebody's asking you a question about an alert. You don't have to be at your computer. You can use the mobile app to view this. It will give you the information as to who opened it, who closed it, why it was opened, all of that important information. I will talk about later on in this presentation how you can view the reports through the web portal. And with that one, you have a few more sorting options as well as exporting options. It's important to remember that your staff can only initiate two types of alerts, and they do them only through the badge. The majority of staff have no access to the app, but they can initiate a staff alert and a lockdown by using that button on their badge. Your district has the ability to initiate, to customize and select what other types of campus-wide alerts they want to be able to initiate from the mobile and computer apps. This is a sample. They are customized to each site, each customer based on what their needs are. The strobes will flash different colors based on that. The messages for the desktop takeover will coordinate with that specific alert. And if your intercoms are integrated, the intercom message will also coordinate with that alert. To activate an alert from the mobile app, you want to start. It takes several steps. And to start, you push the red button at the bottom. It's our CENTEGIX logo, and you push that button. And then it brings you to several more steps. The very first step is you need to select a location. Most of you will only have the location that you are assigned, will only have one assigned location. Some of you might have multiple locations, so you want to make sure that you are selecting the correct location. You tap the blue button after you have selected your location, and then you have to select the alert type. What type of alert do you want to trigger from the mobile app? You tap that button and it brings you to the third screen where it is saying that they want you to confirm that you want to do, in this case, a lockdown at the Unified High School. If that is correct, you literally have to take your finger and slide that arrow at the bottom on that red bar. You have to literally slide your finger across to make it go to the next screen, which is a 5-second countdown. So maybe you're putting your school in a hold and the situation has rectified and you don't need to. You can cancel it by pressing the cancel alert button or clicking that X up at the top of the screen. Otherwise, it will count down 5 seconds. It will show you the countdown and then it will activate that alert. Reminder that when you do these campus-wide alerts, the strobes, the desktop takeover, and if integrated, that intercom message will play associated with that alert type. The computer app is the same information as a mobile app, it's just a different device. CENTEGIX is very focused on building redundancy into the system. We want to make sure people get messages. We want to make sure responders get alerts. So we want various ways to communicate this. It's just a different way to get that alert notification. And just like on the mobile app, the computer app can be used to receive, close, and initiate alerts. In order to do this, you have to log into the desktop app. If you have a Windows-based device, you're going to find our logo down in the desktop tray on the bottom of your screen. It's those concentric circles again, and you right-click to log in. If you are on a a Mac machine, then it is going to be up at the top right of your screen. And again, you click and log in. Really nice. You don't have to log in every day. Most of the time, you will not have to log in again. If you've had a system update, I would do a quick check, click on our icon. If it says log in, it means it logged you out and you need to log back in. If it says log out, it lets you know that you've already are logged in and you don't need to do anything. When an alert comes in on the computer, it's all on one screen. You don't have to scroll through different screens. It's all on one screen. There will be no noise associated with it. It is just a pop-up. On the screen, you see the map of the school with the dot showing where that person is. Just like on the mobile app, on the computer app, you can zoom in and out of that map. Over on the right, it gives you information about the type of alert, who triggered it, how long ago it had been triggered, and their approximate location. You can also close the alert. Tapping that red close alert button gives you that menu of items that you can choose from. Up at the top left, you can switch from satellite view to street view if you prefer a certain view of your school. If one is easier for you to read, then you can switch views. And then also, if you have multiple floors in your school, you can see that you can select the floor that you are on. On the bottom right, you can activate an alert as well. I would caution you that it is very easy and very quick to do from the computer app. It is not multiple steps. It is about 2. You select activate alert and then the alert type and press go. And that alert will be activated. So I recommend that you know that it's there so that you can use it if need be, but that it is very easy to do accidentally from the computer app. So the app, mobile and computer, I like to say if you want the map, which shows where the alerts are, you need the app. For everything else, we want to go to the web portal. And the web portal is found at web.centegix.com. One thing people ask often is, how do I reset my password? The only way to reset your password is go to web.centegix.com and you can find the forgot password link there. You cannot do it from the app. So little side note there. At the web portal, we're going to talk about users, how to find them, assigning them badges, removing badges. We're going to look at badge health. We're going to look at the alerts report, and we're going to look at the responders report. We will also cover badge training, but I'm going to cover that in the training section of this webinar. When you log into web.centegix.com, it's going to pull you to what we call the dashboard, and it is a map of your school. It will look a little different. It will have your school or your site there. Up at the top right, there's a little 3-bar menu. Sometimes people refer to it as a hamburger menu. And if you click on that, you will get a drop down and you'll see dashboard, admin panel, and several other items. We want to go to the admin panel. When you go to the admin panel, that automatically defaults to the users tab up at the top left. And it will load the users or the staff for your site. If I wanted to search for myself here, I would go to the search bar above that dark blue bar, kind of the right side above that dark blue bar, and I would begin typing in my name. I can either type Sarah or Collins, and it will find people including myself, whose names match those spellings. So easy to find using that search bar. The one exception to that is if I am assigned to multiple sites, I am going to need to click that Show Multi-Site User button up at the top above that light blue bar. If I am someone, maybe a school psychologist who works at multiple sites, I'm going to be assigned to multiple sites. And the only way to see me is to click that Show Multi-Site User button and then search, and then my name will appear. Once you have found the person who you want to assign a badge to, then you click that Scan Badge button next to their name. You have the scanner plugged into your computer, click that Scan Badge button, and the little QR code icon will show, and that's a reminder to actually scan the QR code on the back of the badge. When it has been successfully scanned, you will see a green On button appear. The very first person on this list, Abe, he has a green On button next to his name. He has had his badge successfully scanned, and it shows there. And there's also a badge ID that has appeared next to his name as well. One thing to note, depending on the model of badges you have, if your badge looks like the one on the left where the button is at the top of the badge, there are no additional steps necessary to prepare your badge for assignment. If you have the model that looks like the one on the right, where the button is on the bottom, those badges need to be woken up prior to assigning them. Very easy to do. All you need to do is press the button and hold it for about 5 seconds. You will see 1 green flash and then 3 quick green flashes, and that means it has been woken up, and then it is able to be scanned. When we have been on-site training, we talk about the importance of creating an atmosphere at your site where people are very comfortable calling up and saying, hey, I've lost my badge. And that's because you want to be able to deactivate that badge so somebody else doesn't get a hold of it and start pressing that button and triggering perhaps a lockdown or other alerts. To do it, you simply search for that user's name, and then you are going to click that green on button to off. Really simple to do. Once that badge has been found, you can click that green, that off button back to on, and the badge is active again. Maybe the badge is completely lost and never found, so you need to replace that badge. You need to give that person a new badge. All you're going to do is click that, you're going to click edit badge and then replace badge. That will remove the old badge and scan in the new badge for them. Maybe Abe has left employment and you want to remove that badge so you can assign it to another person. You're going to click badge and then remove badge, and then that badge can be issued to someone else. Badge health, over on the left under the users is badge health. There's a little key up at the top left that tells you what it is. Really good practice for whoever is in charge of the badges for your site to check this about every 1 to 2 weeks. It will populate anything that is unhealthy automatically to the top of the list. So they do not need to go through and scroll through every user to see if something is unhealthy. If it is unhealthy, it will pop to the top of the list. If it's red, essentially you're going to replace that badge, give them a new one. If it is that badge not seen next to Irma's name there, the equipment that we have, the gateway, checks in with every piece of equipment, and it's not asking where are you, it's asking how are you, making sure everything is working. That's how we keep eyes on our system and know that our system is functioning. It checks in with the badges to see how they are too. And if after 7 days of checking in, it hasn't gotten a response, it says, I don't know how this badge is because I haven't seen it. After spring break, after a winter break, after somebody's been out on maternity leave or an extended medical leave or on a vacation, they haven't been on campus, so the gateway hasn't checked in, and you're going to get this message. The badge works as soon as they step foot on campus. It just hasn't checked in, and it will take a few hours for it to do so. But if they need to trigger an alert, they can. The only time that badge not seen recently is of importance is if you know that Irma has been at work all week. It means she's not either choosing not to wear her badge or has lost it and not reported it. And in both cases, it would be a good conversation to have with Irma. Down a couple more is the alerts report. And this is where, again, you can see why and what has been happening on your campus and get that information. You can sort it in any number of ways, by date, done, by the location it's been triggered at. I know we've had one school at dismissal time who found that in one area they were getting frequent requests for more help, staff alerts being triggered. And they were able then just to implement some personnel changes, put some more personnel in that area, and it eliminated the need for those. So this data can be really, really important for you. You can also export it out in any number of ways. The responders report, this is really important, especially for those of you in education and coming back to school for the new school year. We know that staff changes happen a lot. People are in new roles, people have left the district. You want to make sure you know who is assigned to your site as responders and what their abilities are. So clicking on this responders report gives you this access. You will see there are different responders types. Here we have district admin, site responders, and SRO. It will show the different types of alerts that are configured for your site and what those permissions are. So if I look at the SRO, I can see, well, they're not getting any of the staff alerts, they're not getting the test alerts, but they are getting the campus-wide shelter in place and the campus-wide lockdown alerts. So those SRO officers will know about those. I know that site responders are getting all of the types of alerts. And I see that district admin, they don't want to know about the staff alerts, all those everyday things that are happening, but they do want to know if a shelter in place or a lockdown have occurred. So you can see who has what permissions to get, activate and close those alerts. And then you can also see who is assigned as responders for that. So if you click the arrows to the left of the responder type, it will show you who is listed there. And really good idea to check those lists and make sure that those are the people that are still at your site. Are these who you need as responders, or do you need somebody else? And then work with your district on how you add those into your site or remove them if they are no longer there. Finally, up at the top right on the admin panel, there is now a support portal. It has great things there. All of the things I've talked about, plus a lot more you can get help with. It's at success.centegix.com. It will require another sign-in. Has a great search feature. One of the things in training that we often recommend is that you print the quick start guide to put in subfolders, so subs have information about the badges. If you were just to type quick start guide in the search, it will show you the quick start guide. We have it both in English and in Spanish. And I'm going to come back here to reference a video for training. And this is where you would go to get that video for training. Next, we're going to talk about training your staff. There are some best practices around it. We want to talk about avoiding inadvertent lockdowns. And we're going to talk about badge training mode, which is how your staff gets an opportunity to practice with their badge without triggering live alerts. So for those in education, you're coming back, start of school. This is a great time. You have new staff, different people. I would plan at those beginning back to school PD days to include this as one of your trainings. You're going to start by showing this 5-minute staff video. Again, you can access it at success.centegix.com. For some of you who have been with us longer, you may not have seen this video. It's been developed in about the last 6 months, but it is a quick video to show your staff. It goes through all of the things that we used to have you do via PowerPoint, but talks about how to use your badge, how to wear your badge, some best practices, as well as some badge facts, all the things that your staff like to know. Once you have shown them that video, I would really recommend talking about kind of the procedures and protocols for your site. Is this badge to be used for when Johnny doesn't pick a pencil up off the floor? No. What are you going to do? Your normal classroom management procedures. But when do you use it? What does that look like for your district and your building? Then you want to put your system into badge training mode, and you're going to have all the staff practice one at a time in badge training mode. And I'll walk you through that here in a minute to show you how to do that. For staff that are new, or if you're a district where badges are collected at the end of the year, then I would hand them out at this time, kind of distribute them maybe by groups, first grade or math department, hand them out, and then let them practice individually pressing their badge. It's really important that they know what it feels like. Sometimes we have people who say, oh, I tried to trigger an alert. I pressed it 3 times, but it didn't work. Well, they're not clicking fast enough. One of the ways we like to train is to say, I need help. And it's, I need help. And they can help. That helps staff remember how quickly they need to press their badge. Once that badge training, everybody has practiced with it, you want to wait a few minutes. 5 minutes is the best practice recommendation before you end that training session. Avoiding inadvertent lockdowns. There's a lot on the screen, so let me kind of break it apart for you. First and foremost, we know that 75% of inadvertent lockdowns were initiated by people who have never practiced with their badge. They didn't go through badge training mode. They don't know what to do. They get in that situation and they panic and they just keep pressing that button. So that's one. And with that, we would say frequent training. So you do it at this back to school, second quarter, revisit it, put it back into badge training mode, talk about scenarios of when and how to use your badge. We want it to become muscle memory and as automatic as it is for a fire drill. We all know what to do in a fire drill. We want them to have that same response should they ever need to use their badge. Really important that you talk about treating your badges live, even when you are off campus. If we treat it as live, then we don't see it as a plaything when we're at home with it, something our kids can play with who would love to, since it gives that vibration feedback. I know I used to take my child to school, and if I'd let him play with my badge at home, I could see him thinking when he was at school, he could play with it there. So really treating your badges live in all circumstances is best practice. Finally, we know that responders trigger inadvertent campus-wide alerts and lockdowns by playing on their desktop or their mobile app. I mentioned before how easy it is to trigger those alerts on your desktop, so be very careful with that. And if you have people who are new as responders, make sure they go through some training so they know how to do this. Finally, should it occur an inadvertent lockdown, follow your protocols for communicating with students, staff, and the community. And then again, review protocols and procedures for those badges, do that practice. All of those things help to prevent these inadvertent lockdowns. So how do we get to a badge training session? You're in the admin panel. Over on the left, there is badge training. When you click on that, it brings you, and up at the top right, it will say schedule a training session. When you click on that screen, it brings you to the select duration and select start time. Always allow more time than you think you need. I would say default to 2 hours. What you don't want to have happen is your staff is still practicing with their badge and the training session ends, because it's a countdown clock. It will end automatically and you cannot extend that session. Once you have selected the duration and the start time and you click schedule, you come to a warning, and it's telling you that you're taking your system off live, and responders will not be notified in the event of a real alert because the system thinks it's in a test mode, not in a real mode. It's also telling you to wait at the beginning before starting pressing the badge. After you've started, wait a couple minutes. And then you're going to click the create session button and then click OK on that success sign, success notification. It says session started, click OK. And it brings you up to this view where it shows who is clicking their badge and how they're doing it. And this is where I'd say, all right, first grade, come up. Let's click your badge one at a time. They can see it. They can see their name appear. The last person who clicks their badge is going to appear at the top of the list, so it makes it easy for you to see. The other thing this is really good for is making sure that you have assigned badges correctly and handed them to the right person. People know they have their badge, it's assigned to them, and you know they've been assigned correctly. I was at a training session one time and we had this up on a big screen. We had 40 or 50 people in the room, and a group of us were assigning badges at the back and then having people test their badge. And I looked up and I saw unassigned user has triggered a 3-click alert. So I was able to say to the group, if you have pressed your badge 3 times and you don't see your name up there, come back to the table. We need to reassign that badge to you. It wasn't assigned correctly, because that does happen. It's not very often, but it does happen. Really good way to check. So just a quick little reminder, the training session would consist of that staff training video and then discussing protocols, putting that system into badge training mode, distributing the badges, and then one at a time having staff practice with their badge in that badge training mode. And that's where we're at. So Lacey, what kind of questions do we have that we need to address live?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah. So we actually only have one question remaining in the chat, so I'll just share that one with you. So if someone is a new administrator, how would you suggest them going about getting access?
I would talk with either safety and security or your IT team about getting added to the system. A lot of Systems use Active Directory, and you have to be put into the correct group for that. It depends on how your school district is set up or your site has it set up. And if that doesn't answer it enough, then pop into the chat again.
What about adding new staff?
Same thing. So very few sites, you are able to do it yourself. Most sites are using Active Directory and putting people in groups. Our system syncs with your site's Active Directory every 24 hours. So as HR are putting new users in, we will sync with them and update our records. If you are not seeing that, then I would reach out to your IT department and say, are we Active Directory? You could put in a help desk ticket and say, these people are not appearing in my system. What are the steps I need to take?
And we have another question that came in. Should we go in and remove staff members who are no longer employed at our site because the badges go with the staff member if they leave our site?
That is a really good question. If they are no longer at your site, but still with the district, you need to defer to your district on how they want you, or with your employer, you need to refer to them on how they want you to do it. Some places want them to leave badges at the site. Some places say take them to their new site, we'll get more badges for the other site. If they have completely left the employment of your site, then you would need to get them removed. Again, that may be via Active Directory and require a help desk ticket for that.
Is the badge training only able to be implemented from the desktop admin panel?
Really good question. It cannot be activated from the mobile app. It can be activated from the desktop app, but we really recommend just leaving that app running in the background and doing it from the web portal.
So Sarah, what I'm going to say is we can go on to our final slide. And then if we do have any other questions popping in before we conclude, we can go ahead and answer those before we sign off for today. So if you do have any additional questions that come to mind, as Sarah had mentioned, we do have the customer support portal, which is located by going to success.centegix.com. You would use your CENTEGIX credentials to log in. The nice thing about this is just typing any keywords that you have inside that search bar will hopefully give you the results that you're looking for, but they are broken down into categories as well by topics to help make it easier to find what you need. If you're not able to find what you need on the Success support site, you can always email support@centegix.com, or you can call 1-800-950-9202 extension 2. And Sarah, we do have a couple more questions that did pop in.
Okay.
One of them from Irene said, when in training mode, do you have to put each individual badge into training, or you just have them press them one at a time?
So you put the system into training, not the badges. So you put the system into training and then you have each person press their badge one at a time. Good clarification.
And one more question from Laura. The instructions for system training are in the slides. So I'm thinking, Laura, can you clarify, do you mean like when it comes to how to get into the admin panel?
Or are you thinking about doing the badge training?
For putting the system in training mode for badge training.
They are in the slide deck, and there is, if on that support portal, that success.centegix.com, you could type in that search bar badge training and it would pop up as well with instructions on how to do it.
With updating your responders report, is it the badge admin that does that, or is that controlled at the district level? So the responders report, who controls that?
Really good question. And that really depends on your employer and how they have chosen to set that up. So I would say most often it is controlled more at a central location with input from individual locations. So if there are people that you want to see, I would say talk with your central office or IT department about doing that and seeing what the protocol is for your district or employer.
What is the difference between the site admin and the badge admin?
Really good question. The badge admin can access the user's page and badge health, and that's pretty much it. So they kind of are in charge of the badges. The site admin can access those, but then can also do badge training, the responders report, the badge health. What am I forgetting, Lacey and Abby? I think bad users, badge health, alerts report, responders report, and badge training. I think it's those 5 things.
Yeah, I think you got them all.
They have a little bit more access of what they can see within the system.
And just, can you repeat what the badge admin does once more, please?
Sure. A badge admin is usually somebody who is going to be responsible for assigning badges, deactivating them if they get lost, and checking that badge health.
All right, I do not see any more questions. So we want to thank everyone for your time today and for all the great questions that came in. And thank you, Sarah and Abby, for your assistance as we went through this webinar today.